Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. If you've been a long-time Linux operating system user, then you'd probably agree that Linux has come a very long way, especially when it comes to usability and features. But that made me think, are there still things to complain about with Linux in our modern age? And so today I'm going to be talking about the three main areas of complaints that people have when they're thinking about trying out Linux or even making the move fully over to this operating system. And a lot of the complaints actually stem from features or lack of features when they compare to operating systems like Microsoft Windows and Apple Mac. And so the first and biggest areas of complaints is gaming. So back in the day, if you were somebody who enjoyed video games, even when it came to casual gaming, Linux was not a great option. Even though you had things like Wine, the compatibility, the performance, it was just a hit or miss, and it wasn't the easiest thing to set up. But now, mainly thanks to Steam and Proton, which is a compatibility layer based off of Wine, a lot of gamers have very few things that they're missing now. Now you could play games that were meant just for Windows directly here in Linux, thanks to this compatibility layer. So I can now play games like Yakuza 0, Strider. I could play things like Metal Gear Solid 5, Doom. And you kind of get the point here. You could play a lot of games that you never would have thought of. I would have never thought I'd be able to play Dark Souls 3. And then for some people, they're able to play Cuphead as well. That's something that is like basically a dream for a lot of gamers. But now I'm able to do that here. And then if you're somebody who enjoys retro gaming, we have things like MAME, RetroArch. You could play all of these type of games right here in Linux. And so whether you are a modern casual gamer, you're a retro gamer, you pretty much have all these things available here in Linux. And the most important things besides the games itself is now graphic card drivers for both NVIDIA and AMD is gotten so much better. And a lot of that is built in right when you install Linux. So you don't have to go through a lot of trouble just getting your video card to work. So all of those things combined, I would say makes it pretty much a non-issue for casual gamers and even some serious gamers as well, because as this whole Steam Proton layer gets better, you'll be able to play a lot more modern games directly here in Linux. And so the second biggest area of complaints comes to multimedia. And what I'm talking about here is things like photo image editing, video editing, audio editing. Now, once again, I think a lot of those complaints, they're really not that valid anymore, because when it comes to graphics, there's plenty of image editing tools available. When it comes to video related stuff like screen recording right here, OBS is right here. I'm using it right now. Audio editing, I have Audacity. And of course, when it comes to video editing, I have things like Kdenlive, or I can use things like OpenShot. And even though these programs have been available before, they weren't the most stable and they didn't have the most features, but nowadays these are very stable and they have a lot of features that make it very competitive, and of course they're all free. And because these software are cross-platform like OBS, Audacity, and even the software I talked about, Kdenlive, OpenShot, they're available on all these major platforms, and so you don't really miss anything because you have them available here. Okay, and so if you are somebody who does multimedia, up to like beginners to medium, or even if you're really good, you could probably do some advanced things just using these free tools. They're now available here in Linux. No problems there. And so the final big area of complaint comes to business related stuff. And once again, I really feel that there's even less things you complain about here, because for a lot of people, most of their business nowadays is done through the internet browser. And we have all the major browsers here. And even if you weren't doing a lot of your business through the browsers, there's programs like LibreOffice that will allow you to do your spreadsheet stuff, your word editing. And even if you are in very collaborative environments where you're working with various teams, there is software available here that works all across every major platforms. Things like Slack, Discord, we have Zoom, there's Skype as well. And so once again, there's pretty much nothing lacking here in Linux when it comes to business. And so the final area that isn't really related to these three main categories, but I really feel it's extremely important as well, is usability and ease of use. So this is something that I think a lot of people would agree that Linux was definitely not an easy to use operating system at the beginning. But nowadays, I would argue it's the easiest operating system to use, especially if you're using something very newbie friendly like Linux Mint. And so those are all the main complaints that I think Linux solves, and modern Linux solves, and that you really don't have much to complain about anymore, because a lot of those features that were missing in the day are not missing anymore. And once you get into the Linux ecosystem, you'll learn that there's even more things that you could do in Linux, because there are software that's only available in this ecosystem. So you're going to get everything that you had in the other platforms, but now you're going to get more as well. And the great thing is the majority of all of this software, 99%, it's all free. And so that is it for my episode today on complaints about Linux in our modern age. I feel that there's pretty much no complaints anymore. And also just the overall experience, I absolutely love using Linux, even more so than I ever have before. And it makes it even harder for me to ever think about going back to an operating system like Microsoft Windows or Apple Mac. And so if you had any thoughts on this, be sure to leave that in the comments area below. And if you want to see my video before for all the gamers out there that I actually tried out some of these games right here in Steam and Proton, I'll also leave that in the description area below. So as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hey geeks, if you are a creative geek like me and you wanted to learn how to create content on YouTube and other places on the internet, then check out my Go Content Creators group, where you'll get access to 30 videos plus additional content for all the creative geeks out there. And the best part of it is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and sign up for my Go Content Creators group. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.